This is my essay on grief. It's called The Judas Dress. There will always be some part of me that will wonder what could have happened if I hadn't made the biggest mistake of my life. I know I'm supposed to shun shoulda, woulda, coulda in favour of a more optimistic carpe diem style attitude, but when you've made a decision as earth-shattering as the one I made, it is hard to maintain such positive ministrations. I don't know if you've ever made a decision such as this. You know, the ones that seem insignificant at the time but quickly turn out to be the single most important, destructive thing you will ever do. If not, count yourself lucky and pray you have never to wake up from the aftermath of an atomic bomb spread out over what was once your life and wonder what happened. If you have, then I know that you know what I mean, and if you don't mind, I'll take comfort in that I'm not alone. Funny thing is, no one tells you on the pillar point days of your life the sun rises just like any other. You have no idea what is coming, and you casually go on wishing and whiling your time away just like any other day. Afterwards, you'll cast your mind back and desperately flail about for token memories that will help you to cement those once insignificant hours into your mind. You'll wonder how you didn't know, how you couldn't have known what was to come. I think that's part of what compounds the guilt, that you didn't realise the magnitude of what you were missing until it had already gone. I'm speaking from experience, of course. I've spent months on the rack of shame, stretching myself into a spectre of guilt and heartache. I have wailed a guttural, primal groan of despair. I have silently screamed and asked myself, why did you do it? More times than I care to wonder, but slowly I've settled into a simply greyer, sadder version of myself. And I don't mind at all, because the truth is, this is what I deserve. My second biggest secret is that I am not actually happy. Family and friends would probably be aghast at this fact, but there it is. I am the Da Vinci of my own life, painting an immaculate portrait of coping and moving on and filling the void that is my biggest secret. Here it is. I killed my mother. No, not literally. I didn't put a gun against her head, pull the trigger, now she's dead or anything. But on the knife edge of time where I could have done something to save her, I didn't. That I was completely unaware of that moment as it came and went ultimately means nothing, because the outcome is the same. She is gone. It was Christmas time. Mum had been unwell for a long, long time with a virulent, bastardised strain of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that had debilitated her and everyone around her. It sucked the life out of everything. It had been a dramatic and draining few years, as Mum's partner had left her and I had been drafted in to fill the hole that survived. We'd moved house, and albeit begrudgingly, and with much encouragement, Mum was making friends of her own. But she still wasn't happy, and she was the kind of unhappy that loved company. I'm not bad-mouthing her, she is still the absolute best person I've ever known, but I guess I'm just trying to justify my actions to you, to explain why I left. My life was a precise routine an Army General would have been proud of. I would wake up, go to work, come home in the evening and walk the dog. Sometimes I would go to the gym, and then I would come home and do my daughterly duty. I would be a mere text away, without fail, 24/7. If I ever went to see my friends, Mum would come. If I ever went anywhere at all, my mum would come along. I loved her more than any other person in the world, but I was 26 and it was suffocating sometimes. I think I felt like I could never really be myself, always on my best behaviour. I say I think I felt because I never stopped to think about it at the time, only after. Back then it was simply how things were, and although it rankled at first, I had come to accept and eventually appreciate all that time with her. But I guess it all got on top of me that night, and in an obstinate, titanically self-centred error in judgment, I left. She would never have left me, though, and that is the clincher of it all, the bit that catches me off guard as my thoughts wander idly around my mind and makes me want to curl up in a ball and die. It was a Friday in mid-December, and also the day of the office Christmas party. I'd never been to a Christmas party in all of my years, and I was beyond excited. I had put so much effort into the outfit that I really felt like Cinderella was finally going to the ball. I now refer to my floor-length, backless black silk dress as the Judas Dress, because, well, you know. That day at work was a flurry of insignificant moments bound together by anticipation. The highlight of the morning was Mum sending me a photo of 2 elephants, a mother and a baby, and saying it was us. She made a whimsical reference to my tiny bum, no doubt trying as always to boost my confidence, as I'd been on a fitness kick, and she'd felt that I'd felt that I'd lost enough weight. I quipped about getting the image as a tattoo. Another tattoo, I should say, as I had about 15 already. Funnily enough, I now have that same image as a vibrant tribute to her. I wear it on my skin proudly as a badge of love and also a declaration of my guilt. To others, it says how much I love my mother, but to me, it's a constant reminder of what I should have done better. As I always did when I went home for lunch to check on Mum, on the first of the opportunities for me to possibly alter the course of our fate arose, loitered for about 23 minutes, and then passed me by. She told me she had a bit of a stomachache, but that she felt fine overall. I asked her if she needed anything. She said no. Satisfied that my responsibility was met, I went in search of shoes to wear to the party, and then sailed back to work on a strong breeze of anticipation. I was going with one of my best friends from work, and so a good laugh was sure to be had. The chance to let my hair down and just be me with no responsibility for a light pulsed through my veins, intoxicated me with the novelty of it. The second and last of the opportunities came a few hours later when I skipped home from work and found Mum in a much worse state. All the symptoms pointed to food poisoning, however, which we had both had before, and while unpleasant, isn't treatable by a doctor or life-threatening. Again, I did my bit, sourcing water and oromorphic solution, some bland food, and cancelling her attendance to her own Christmas party for the volunteer job she'd been going to for a while. I offered to call a doctor, to call a friend, and to stay at home. All the while hoping she would say, "No, I'm fine, you go have fun," which of course she did because she was my mum, and that is what mums do. She told me that she was starting to feel better and just needed to rest a bit, so I made her comfortable as best I could, and then, quite simply, I waited. I had a few hours to kill until it was time to leave, so I idled on the periphery, stepping from foot to foot, waiting for her to get better or worse. Eventually this got tiresome, so I had a nap, and seeing no change when I awoke, I figured she would turn out all right, as she always did. I bathed myself in the Judas dress, donned my new shoes and got ready to leave. Soon comes the part that I am most ashamed of. How could I not have known that this thing masquerading as something so innocuous was in fact the insidious beast that would fell my majestic mother? That it was in fact the midpoint of the silent onslaught towards multiple organ failure due to septicemia due to bronchopneumonia? I've replayed that moment hundreds of times, the one where I said, "Okay, well, if you're sure, I'll go then. Here's your phone, call me if you need anything." At my own death, I know of all the moments that flash before my eyes, this will be the one that will resonate. It will vibrate with ire and sorrow and rage and grief, just as it does now. This is my biggest regret. I had always been a selfish girl by nature, a trait forced out by years of trying to overcome and to strive for better. Ultimately, though, my mother was Achilles, and I am the heel. As I walked out of the front door, I recall wondering what emotion I'd seen flit briefly across her face as she told me once again that she was all right. It was brief, but strong enough to give me pause before pushing the thought aside as the thrill of the night overwhelmed me. It wasn't until a few days later afterward that I realised what it was. It was sadness. How do you go on truly living when you know the last emotion you caused the person who loved you more than anyone else ever has, or ever will, was sadness? I feel as though I'd spent 9 years practicing for a test, studying hard in the last 2 years especially to learn how to be a good daughter, to be selfless, to be the carer my mother deserved. And on the very last hurdle I tripped and fell cataclysmically, spiralling downward into a pit of self-indulgent despair I'm trying greatly to warrant my way out of. No good daughter qualification for me. Days and weeks and months of being there, sacrificing my social life, my money, my time, ultimately are meaningless, because at the end of it there's still a chance that my mother knew she was dying and she may have felt afraid, and she was alone. Sometimes this single thought crosses my mind at moments unexpected, and without fail my breath catches in my throat, and my heart aches so deeply I have to rub my chest to ease the pain. I know I failed her, and I'll never forgive myself. Even if she would have died anyway, that I wasn't there to ease her passing, that in the final conscious moments of her life she was alone, is just too cruel. I can't believe it of myself, what a traitor I have become. Needless to say, walking back through the front door after a night of fun, food and a fantastic Dirty Dancing medley was like walking from Nirvana into the seventh ring of hell. I stood on the threshold trying to catch my balance as the ground beneath me pitched and tossed like Satan's mighty belly. I think my first word was shit, which was probably just an observation because the stuff was everywhere. The next few hours went like this. Call 999. Note that it's 2 a.m. Rapid response man, try and make mum comfortable. Wait an hour. Wait the ambulance. Watch as they load up a now semi-comatose mother. Tell myself that we've been in this situation before. Tens of times. She'll be fine. Strap on rubber gloves. Spend an hour cleaning the bathroom. Answer the phone to the hospital. Feel heart drop as they tell me it's more serious this time. Race to the hospital, breaking various laws, including speed limits and talking mobile phones along the way. Get put into a back room. Get given a cup of coffee. Finally get told that my mother suffered a cardiac arrest in the ambulance. Get told her heart isn't beating on its own. Get told she isn't breathing on her own. Get asked if there's anyone I can call. Get asked if I want a priest. Get told to start making arrangements. Listen to all the things I'm asked and told and think patiently to myself about how wrong they are. Chant silently, you don't know her, you'll see. She'll wake up. Just you wait and see. She didn't wake up. 15 hours, several frantic phone calls, 1 transatlantic FaceTime. 14 visitors and 12 hours without oxygen to the brain. Later, I agreed to turn off the life support. 7 minutes after that, the singular most important thing in my life stopped being, and as I passed her by, my wretched heart still beating while hers stilled forever. I think my first word as the monitor began to beep its alarm was shit. My mum's ex was the only person with me at the time. She echoed the sentiment. Shit. It's been nearly 15 weeks since that moment. Isn't it funny how time can drag and also flow past you at an exacerbated rate? The first few days were alcohol-sodden and dry-eyed. I felt like I was on a weird trip with everyone around me bursting into spontaneous bereft displays of emotion, while I remained the fixed point amongst the floods of tears that surrounded me, comforting and consoling, and all the while not a single drop of heartache left my body. My father arrived from America after a day and a half, reminding me that I wasn't an orphan. The next few weeks were crammed to bursting with stress. The housing organisation advised me within 6 days that I was required to leave the home I just spent 10 months building, which, on top of everything else, simply pitched me into sensory overload. I was numb whilst trying to plan a funeral with no money, which is not a pleasurable undertaking, pun intended. But 16 days later I pulled it off. Biodegradable, environmentally friendly coffin? Check. Personal touches? Check. Not a dry eye in the house? Check. Twisted arm of a pub owner to allow booze before 11 a.m? Double check. Much to the ire of the funeral director, I elected to do the whole thing myself, and that's one small thing I am proud of in this whole broken tale of woe. One small gift for my mother who carries me for 9 months and 26 years alike. After my dad went home, I went back to work, and the days settled into a blur of trying to ensure I never had time to stop. My mum and I were best friends in the true sense of the word. We fought like wild alley cats, but we never lost an ounce of love or respect for one another. We were partners, spent pretty much all of our time together. After she was gone, I found myself with all this spare time and nothing to distract me from the voices in my head that shouted at me day and night, calling me a killer, a failure, a wretch. I drank too much, even on my lunch times at work sometimes. Ironically, my mum and I had spent many an idle natter scorning the people who turned to alcohol in times of hardship, of which our family holds more than a couple. I guess it's in my blood, the base need to blot out everything that reminds you of anything. Alcohol is simply a tool of distraction from your own life. It's the desire to escape that I never understood before. I spent much of my time feeling heady and reckless and doing things I wouldn't normally do. I spent as much time away from home as possible. It was like a little boat on the enormous ocean of emotion, rising from one huge wave and dropping down into a gully of another. Eventually I met a guy, and from there slowly the tide began to change. I had come to believe at some point through the years that I would simply grow old with my mother. Despite her illness, she soldiered on through so many ailments that would have failed lesser humans that I truly become to believe that she was invincible. As great as she was, however, insecurity was the one beast she couldn't tame, and as threatened as she was at the prospect of me meeting my future husband and her being alone at some point, I simply accepted I would just spend my life with her instead, which wasn't so bad, because she was a hoot. However, the life path has crumbled away, and so, upon some sage advice from my younger cousin over a shared extra-large pizza and a bottle of Baileys on New Year's Eve, I joined a dating site. I had found that in a fairly short space of time I had burned through the social capacity of my friendship group, and so sometimes found myself sat alone in the evenings where the worst of the thoughts caught up with me and washed over me. like wildfire. My cousin thought having random people to talk to would help me get through those quiet, torturous hours, and he was right. The great thing about people is that they encapsulate the best and worst things about living. In this instance, I managed to find this essence to carry on in the soul of others. Through these bonds I've cultivated, I have found many things, but most singularly and most poignantly, I found hope.